Deuce, before we get into what you saw this past Sunday and what you're looking to see this past weekend, I got to ask you about one player in particular, and that's Velus Jones. And we've seen this. It's intermediate, man. He flashes it. Great speed, acceleration out into the open field. Sometimes I think he doesn't hit the hole right as a runner, and you can maybe understand that a little bit because he's really played a lot more receiver than he's ever played halfback before in his life. But you being a former running back, what you see from Velus Jones?
Velus, I tell you, one thing about it, you can see the burst. You can see it immediately. And yeah, he's got some things to work on as far as the nuances of being a running back and understand when to hit it and when to bend it and, just getting my shoulder pads down. But for me right now, what I want to see from him, I want to get him the ball in space. I want to get him the ball in space and allow him to just say, hey, you've got to check here, and then you've got to end up here. And once you're there, if he's one-on-one with a guy, if it's a little guy, you run over him. It's a big guy, I'm going to give him one move, and I'm going to get up the field. And so I think that they may have found a little something with him. Like you said, he's still learning, but I want to get him in space and, just be able to use his speed.
Yeah, no question about it. What you brought up about Will Clapp, Charlie and I had spoke about it. In the first segment, and you feel bad for guys who get hurt, and the news we even with Jordan Love. Okay, he wants to play in a preseason game. He wants to get timing down with his receivers, and then bang, you hurt your thumb. It's not the throwing thumb, but it's still the other one, and hopefully he'll be ready for game one against Detroit. But with Will going down, what surprised me was I kind of thought that Torricelli-Simpkins, his play would come mostly at guard, and then later in the game, Simpkins would move to the center spot. Okay, he plays center. Man, he was, okay, kid, after the second play, hey, get in there. You're the center. Deuce, I'll be honest with you. Okay, he's going to make mistakes, but I was impressed at how he handled it. He was very poised. You could see he knew what he was doing out on the field. And this is a guy who's played both center and guard at South Carolina. But, you're in a regular season, or say as close to you getting to a regular season game as you can in a preseason game. And I don't think he was scheduled to play center first. I think it was more guard. And it was hey, kid, get in there and play.
Yeah, it was going to be guard. It was going to be guard where he was going to go, and then it was going to be center. And, the guy that probably, like we said, we hate it for Will, but Lemieux, Shane, is the guy that probably, I don't want to say benefits the most because now he's slotted probably for more opportunity, which it probably would not have been that way if Will Clapp doesn't get hurt, And so now Shane Lemieux, who obviously the scouts and the scouting department are familiar with, but you got to think, who Jari knows who he is, but the new coaches, they don't really know. But now he's got a chance to come in and kind of show that he can play center and play guard. But man, the rookie coming into this situation, probably making the practice squad was probably, if you're being realistic, that was his, where he was more than likely going to wind up. He's probably going to end up making his team.
Yeah, I would think so.
He's probably going to end up making his team. And so I thought probably the first series or maybe even the first two series, the game is so fast and it's just moving and I've got to make the calls. Mike, how many times do you think he went with the ones in practice?
None.
Exactly.
None.
So now, so now this is who's out here making the calls, and he's looking like, I got Trevor to my right, I got, I got Caesar to my right, I got Trevor to my left, and I'm looking, and this linebacker's moving around, and man, it's a lot, and it's not, the center's the one that's making the calls. He gives the line calls to the guys, and now the quarterback can bump it and change it, but he's got to identify the mic, and so I thought he did well, and hopefully the game slows down for him, and if he's thrown into the fire to be able to go out there and do it again, I can go out there with some confidence and do my job.
One thing about him, Deuce, he's a big body center. Okay, you don't see a lot of guys that size playing the center position, okay? And I know he did kind of dual work with the Gamecocks, and they had a lot of injuries along their offensive line. He had to, but you don't see a lot of 6'5", 320-pound centers in this league.
No, not at all. And I think, the question becomes, okay, can you actually pull him now? Are you going to be pulling that center just because he is so big? And I think he can have nimble feet. But the one thing that if I'm a back and now we can run a ton of duo, we can run a ton of, I know that he is going to be able to cover up that nose if we ever get a zero technique in front of him. He can hold his own. It doesn't have to be position blocking for him. He's a guy that has enough girth and power to be able to move some guys.
One of the guys Bob brought up to me, he was like, Mike, tell me the story about Chris Rump. And so I went through the story with him, and I said, Bob, here's the crazy thing. I scouted his dad when he was a linebacker at South Carolina, but guess where he's at now? His dad's the defensive line coach at Clemson. And so he was like, come on, it can't be. I was like, no, I'm just telling you. His dad is the defensive line coach at Clemson today. But you see something in Rump. Man, his takeoff, his ability to get in the backfield, he tracks the ball really quickly, and he closes fast on the ball carrier. Your thoughts on watching him in practice and what you saw Sunday against the Chargers?
It was really cool. I got a chance after the game just to, for him to interact with some of the individuals that work at the stadium, and they were like, oh, I remember you. You were with us, and now you left us. And he was like, no, I mean, it was business. And he gets to be closer, I guess, to home and to New Orleans, and, just talked about coming back out in November. And, but from a game's perspective, you see the burst up the field, probably a little smaller than what we've had before as far as size, from a defensive end standpoint. But I thought he did a really nice job, and so you'll see those defensive end. We talk about the wide nine. You'll see them sometimes line up as wide as on the slot receiver out there like a defensive back, but then they'll start cheating in, and whether they're running a game or a loop or just trying to get upfield to make that tackle wide, I think that they do a really, really good job of that. And so for the ends that we have now, whether you call them outside linebacker or defensive ends, whatever they may be, they've got to be versatile, and you've got to be able to cover the flat, be able to cover a back out of the backfield at times, and even, drop to the middle of the field depending on what the coverage is. But, at the end of the day, can't stop the run and get after the quarterback, probably can't play. He can do both of those.
Deuce, Mike and I talked a little bit about it in the first segment that Kelvin Banks, the former 9th overall pick from this past year's draft, makes his preseason debut. I know it's limited reps. He had 20 reps in the game, but still, it was a pretty strong debut, all things considered. And it's just kind of funny looking back on ahead of the draft. Mike and I talked a lot about this, that some of the analytics folks and the scouting people were saying that, Kelvin Banks would be better suited at guard. They said the same thing about Will Campbell. These are two accomplished left tackles from big college programs like Texas and LSU, and Kelvin Banks looked the part of an NFL left tackle in his kind of limited debut action against the Chargers.
Yeah, the least amount that you're calling a name, the better that he's playing. So if I'm not calling his name for a mistake, that means he's playing pretty good. And so the competition will ramp up each week, and I think that he has to expect that, and he has to expect that, hey, I know that these are my strengths. This is what I have to work on, and this is what I have to get better at. And so I thought he played really well. Your assignment, like I said, will get a little tougher each week, and your job is to go out there and execute it. Like I said, the toughest part is he and Trevor won't be able to work together side by side just because Trevor is out the next couple of weeks. And I think that's probably why you saw them catch an extra series than, Caesar had and even Fuaga had, just because, hey, the more communication, the more reps, the more that we can be one unit on the left side, the better the Saints team is going to be.
Deuce, with Trevor going down, would you expect Dillon Raidens, who has seen work at that left guard position? I know he played it with the Titans and doing work for the Titans network. He played a lot of left guard for them there. Would you expect that he may be kind of the next call to replace Trevor in the next couple games when that first unit's actually out there?
Yeah, I think I think so. But like I said, I don't know the staff well enough to actually, say, or this is what they're thinking, this is what they like from a combination standpoint. One guy that has been inside before, but this year he's played mostly tackle, and he's been banged up, has been landing young. And so, whether they slide him back in or keep him at tackle. And, what's interesting is they've got some versatility right now, but as we know, as you get closer to that game, if Trevor is not able to play, I don't want that first week of practice to be the first time that he has the left guard next to him. And so you assume so, Mike, but we really will just have to wait and see over the next couple of days to try to get that answer or picture.
Deuce, entering preseason week 1, something that Steve and I talked a lot about in the pregame show was the running back competition and who was going to really kind of take that RB2 role by the reins and make it theirs. And you talked to Steve as well in the postgame about Kendre Miller, and the offensive line needs to create those holes for him to run through, but also during the broadcast mentioning there were times where you got to kind of get your pad level a little bit lower if you're Kendre Miller. Just wanted to get your full evaluation of him because he really kind of did get those first-team reps for the black and gold in that preseason opener.
Yeah, I thought he played okay. I mean, he can play better. And really the biggest thing is, they haven't tackled a ton, and I think that's where you tend to play high a little bit just because you're not getting hit in practice. And so same thing for blocking, offensive line, defensive line as well. You got to get your shoulder pads down. You're too high. And that is really not only Saints, but probably a couple of other teams, and that's just because of how you practice. You can't hit as much because you want to save guys, and just some of the rules of the CBA, things that they don't allow you to do. But I thought that Kendre played well. The biggest thing is, yes, you would love to see yards per carry up. You would love to see a plus 10, plus 20 type yard carry. But at the end of the day, if you're doing your assignment, and then I know that you're picking up the blitz, then I'm pretty pleased. I'm pretty pleased with that opportunity. And the other thing that whether you're R2, R3, or even R4, running back 4 on this team, can you contribute on special teams? And I thought that he had a couple of opportunities on the return game where you had some pretty good returns. And so I would love for him to be able to say, okay, I'm going to be perfect. When the grades come out, I don't want to be, if I had 100 plays, I don't want to be at 90 out of 100. I want to have 100, and so you're trying to play the perfect game. It won't happen, but you've got to try to play the perfect game, not only on the field, but in your mind as well.
Deuce, final question for you. What are you expecting this week from both young quarterbacks in Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shough? Again, I think it was a mixed bag. What I try to tell people a lot of times is offensive line play and wide receivers getting open, that touches the play of the quarterback. Okay? Guys got to get open downfield, and linemen got to block and give you some time to throw it. Tyler Shough played better in this game than I thought he would play against the Chargers. I'm honest. I didn't expect that he would play as well as he did. I thought he did a nice job on the 2-minute drill. And then Bob always talks about it when you throw in that deep pass, how many times we see guys just rifle it down there, okay, and they miss. Just put some air under it and let the guy roll under it, and Tipton's got enough speed to do it. But what will you expect this weekend from both Spencer and also from Tyler Shough?
I want them to go out and play the game. I don't want them to be playing not to make a mistake. I think at times that's what the case has been. They're playing not to make a mistake. I understand that you're in a race. I understand that you're vying for the starting job, and so I want to see you kind of let go a little bit and go and play. Just go play the game. And mistakes are going to happen. You can't go out there and say, oh, I don't like that throw because it looks like he covered, so I'm going to just check it down, or I'm going to throw it underneath, or I'm going to hold it a tad bit longer than you should. Hey, if I see it, I'm sure of the read, let the ball go. Let it go and just trust what I see, trust my preparation. And so the biggest thing for me, though, is go play. Just go play. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Just go and play, and hopefully you can learn from some of the mistakes that you've made as well. And, from the quarterback throwing a deep ball, I don't need to know that you can throw it 80 yards. If it's incomplete, then you just threw it 80 yards. Throw the ball where a guy can have a chance to catch it. It doesn't matter if I'm throwing a back shoulder fade and my receiver never has a chance to catch it. It doesn't matter if I'm throwing a 40-yard go route and my receiver never has a chance to catch it. Give my receiver a chance to catch it. And so, that's what I want to go out and, just hopefully those guys play with a lot of confidence and in the plan and what they're doing, and I like to see them stretch the field a little bit more. not just on some double move type plays, but, I want to see some posts. I want to see some digs. I want to see some 15-yard, outs or some throws like that. That's what I want to see.